Wonderful. So, Mark, how are you today?
Thank you. I'm good. And yourself?
I'm doing good, Mark. So, how was your day so far?
Not too bad. I'm just down the studio. So we've got a tour coming up, and so I'm going through all of my rig just to make sure it's working.
Oh, yeah.
And lo and behold, I've got some sort of thing happening somewhere. So after we have this wonderful interview, I'm going to be pulling lots of wires apart. I don't know if you can see that down there.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, so I've plugged straight into the amp, and the amp is fine, which is good because that's beyond my technical expertise. And then it's just me rewiring this board that I built. Yeah, there we go. Wish me luck.
All the best, Mark.
Thank you.
So, Mark, your fourth album, The Sceptred Veil, is to be out on June 3rd. So can you tell me a bit about the songwriting and production behind this new album?
Yeah, certainly. So with this album, so we originally intended to start writing a new album in 2020, following the release of our split EP with Howling Giant, the Masamune Muramasa. Obviously, the global pandemic put pay to that.
Yep.
In its the start of the pandemic. Then obviously as we learned more about what we could and couldn't do, there was legal legislation to let professional musicians to meet up, and we were all careful because one of the guys in Thunderhoof, their wife has a very low immunity, so we had to be very careful. So this writing process, rather than before, which is the way I prefer, where we'd meet up for rehearsals or jams prior to shows, and then Dan the singer's become very regimented in bringing a little digital recorder and to capture odd riffs that pop up and ideas. And what we'd then do is, as time built, we would sort of sculpt these things into fully fledged songs. Obviously, with the limited amount of time that we had together, we couldn't do it this way, so we relied on technology. So sketching at home, sharing files, and essentially we're very, very, very blessed that Dan's business is a rehearsal and recording studio, and obviously he's got Pale Wizard Records. So what we were able to do is sketch these ideas in, and then send them through to Dan and Josh, who's the producer engineer, plays in the band Foxjaw. They're amazing. If no one's heard of them or seen them, they're just mind-blowing. And what he would do with Dan's guidance is build some robotic drums to the way that we thought Daz, the drummer, might play them, and then send it back, and Daz would sign it off and say, yeah, that's fine. And then so we eventually built these sketches, and with the robotic drums in the background. Then myself, Jim, the bass player, and Dan would then go in on separate occasions to do scratch or sketch instruments. And then Daz came in to actually record the full drum tracks, which is an enormous job. Whereas before we would have been in the room with him, so he can sort of feel us. Our amps would be in a different room, all on earphones, but you sort of get the energy and vibe from each other. So Daz had to translate everything from the digital medium into the amazing work that he did. So that was the first difference, and that sort of challenge that we overcame. And then the actual songs themselves they're very cohesive on the album. It works as a whole piece, I feel, I think, I hope. But the tracks themselves are, if you took them out of context, they're standalone tracks. They're still us, but there's varying different influences that have sort of come through, and obviously everyone was going through a weird time, so that's what influenced the album.
Wonderful. And any particular concept or theme that was put behind this album?
So I mean, from a musical standpoint, not that I write all the riffs, but good majority of them, no offense, Jim. Essentially it was just, I worked all through the pandemic because my job, apparently I'm a key worker. I work in the bicycle industry. But I was able to sort of the ideas that came out were just from what I was listening to. So I you know, beyond rock, I listened to a lot of stuff, and you know, some of that manifested itself in it. And I know thematically and lyrically that Dan spent a lot of time with his family, and he, you know, we live in a beautiful part of the world, and particularly where Dan lives, on his doorstep is the rolling hills of Somerset and the Cotswolds.
Yeah.
So I think he got to thinking about sort of nature, and then the various sort of mythical canons and stories from, you know, England and the UK's past, and kind of interwove them into this this overarching story of who is the Sergeant Thunderhoof. Lyrics wise, I leave that to Dan. That's that's not my forte.
Gotcha. And I love the way the cover art has been put for this album, but how is it related to the album, really?
So I've got terrible ears. Say that again.
I love the cover art of this album. You have put the cover art, really fascinating, great work from you. And I just want to know how it got connected with this album, and what's the real theme that was put behind the cover art.
Right. So I mean, we're really lucky. Sarah Jane, I mean, she's Dan's other half, so we're a phenomenally lucky band where, you know, with the people around us. So Sarah Jane's done all of our artwork so far, which has been great. And essentially we give her an overarching idea to a degree, the sort of thematic side of it. She'll obviously get a preview and a listen, which is great. And then sort of sketch out some drafts to start off with, and start building it, and, you know, share it with us. And we're like, yeah, that's great. I mean, there's not been a time when we've gone, it's always been, wow, all right, yeah, you've captured that. So this Sceptred Veil is a departure with her work. She took it in a new direction. It's still got her signature to it, which is great. However, there is, you know, that's sort of austere or background of green, and then that centralized illustration, it really pops. And, you know, I suppose it evokes what the title says, you know, Sceptred Veil, you know, Sceptred Isle, you know, a tree of life, you know, obviously all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, she took the brief and again has nailed it.
Amazing, Mark. And Mark, coming back to the album, 9 amazing songs put together, great work.
Thank you.
And the way the sound, it comes up totally outstanding, with a bit of psychedelia, a bit of doom, and it has a mix of rock and roll, and everything come together. It sounds fantastic. And I really enjoy the album, to be honest with you. And as a band, how do you feel about the outcome of this album?
We're really happy. We are. We were unsure because I think there's a couple of songs on the album where. So I think it's called Foreigner. See, I don't even know the bloody titles. I don't know. I stay out of the lyrics and stuff like that. I think it's the song Foreigner. There is 3 unique parts in there, which you know, there's one sort of, I don't know if I'm stepping out of place, but Tool-esque sort of 5/4 time quick beat thing, and then that builds into the similar notes but a heavy riff, and then that cuts into the midsection, which is sort of quite sort of indie-esque, darker indie-esque influence, maybe a nod to grungy indie, maybe sort of early doors Pearl Jam, Temple of the Dog, yeah. Big and epic. And, you know, my fear of that middle section, that it was just going on for way too long. But then when Dan started singing over the parts, it came into context, and then it ends off with just a ridiculously nasty, simplistic doom riff at the end. And it's not, luckily it doesn't feel, it happened organically. We haven't shoehorned these things in to slots, so we're really pleased with that. And they all work well in context. I mean, sort of, am I allowed to have favorites? I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy playing the first song and the last song. We've been rehearsing them for our tour. There's one song on there, I'm not going to mention what name it is, but it's actually a riff that I've had for nearly 20 years, just sort of sat around trying to do something with it. And when I first listened back to it, I actually cried because of, well, mainly because of Dan's lyrics, but also the sort of elation that it was such a good riff, but it needed something. And I tried it with various different outputs, but it just didn't feel right. And when we had that limited time together in the jam room in brief times, it evolved and it moved forward. So yeah, I think we're all really stoked.
Wonderful. And before the release of the album on June 3rd, do you plan to make any official music videos from this album?
Oh, I don't rightly know. In all honesty, we're not the most photogenic of people. You've probably seen from our press releases, which I think one's like 7 years old, like the photo. But so we've relied quite heavily on the wonderful John, who has done some animations for us, the Kate Bush cover, the Muramasa one. So we've been toying with that idea again. It's, I think, also time schedules and various other bits and pieces. So Dan's got his own business. Jim and Daz and myself have got quite intense jobs and families and all that sort of stuff. So beyond making music and making an album, which, you know, we see as a luxury, to make a music video as well, I think is more, you know, I think it's not at the top of our agenda, but we'll do something, I'm sure.
Wonderful, wonderful, Mark. And any particular plans on the day of the release?
So we are kicking off the tour, day of release, in our hometown of Bath. Bath historically has been a phenomenal city for live music and vibrancy. Sadly, over the years, certain music venues have closed down through whatever, then obviously through the pandemic, things have changed quite a bit. We've still got the historic Moles Club, who sort of champion live music, but they need to make money, so they have to rely on sort of more like club nights. So they'll put on gigs for us, but it's not always convenient for when people, from out of Bath can come to see us. So we're launching it at one of our favourite pubs, which is a phenomenal music venue. I think they put on live music a minimum of 4 times a week. It's, for everything from Breton, which is dead French music from the Middle Ages, which has had a resurgence, through to Irish folk night, through to string quartets, through to garage rock bands, through to us. So that's called the Royal Oak in Bath, and we're launching it there. I think the particular plans are not to get too giddy, and for me not to get drunk, because it would be insulting to people who are going to be traveling quite a way to come and see us, and me not being able to play. So I think that's me, and mainly just to enjoy it and to look forward to the tour.
Wonderful, wonderful, Mark. And any big festivals or a worldwide tour scheduled for this year?
Well, do you know what? So going back to how much we all work and family life and stuff, it's so we're signed to Pale Wizard Records, which is Dan's label, and that's a joy because it's pure convenience. We've had some wonderful offers from great labels who would then maybe elevate us to get onto various festivals and bits and pieces, everything from Bloodstock or Desert Fest or all of that sort of thing. But we've had to kindly decline, because what people don't realize is if you sign a contract to produce work and to be available for work, then you must fulfill that contract. It's not fair on the record label, and we couldn't commit to that. We've got so much going on in our own lives. We love making music, we love gigging, but it's not that it's a secondary thing in our lives. It just means that to be able to do this, we have to do all the other things. So we've got, beyond this tour, we've got a couple of random dates sort of penciled in and around the place, but nothing firm yet. We'd love to get onto festivals like Bloodstock. I think we're a bit too old to be doing the Metal to the Masses Battle of the Bands competition thing. Not being snobby about it, we're just we've done that in our past. I'm nearly 50 years old, even though I look youthful and amazing. But we've all been playing music since we were like 16.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the guys in the band are a lot younger than me. And we've done the Battle of the Band things, and they've been great, and we've had some great successes from them. But it's not something we'd want to pursue. It sounds really snobby, but we'd want to get there on our own merit. I know that's probably not the way that these, or the machinations of how these things work, but it is what it is. Obviously, Desert Fest, we'd love to get onto at some point. We've played London a couple of times, had a great crowd. We've got some great friends there. And it's always an epic lineup, and we've had friends bands play and what have you, so that would be something ace to do. So yeah, we will never say never.
Wonderful, wonderful, Mark. And next year Thunderhoof will be in the 10th year of existence. So how has the musical journey been for you guys so far?
It's been great. So I mean, the idea, so why we got together was, so Dan and I actually play in a covers or a functions band to earn some money on the side, which I've been in that band, oh my God, yeah, 20 years next year, right? And my partner, when we were looking for a vocalist after our last one left, and my partner Deb used to work in like HMV and FOP and all those sort of things. She said, "Oh, there's a guy I used to work with called Dan. He's lovely. He's played metal bands before, but he's got an amazing voice." So I hooked up with Dan, and I've known Dan, crikey, when was that? I can't remember when that was, but I think he's been in the band about 14, 15 years. Anyway, maybe 13, 14, I don't know. So me and Dan got to know our similar musical influences. I in the rock world, Faith No More and sort of Devin Townsend, Tool, and then our classic rock influences, from the 60s through 70s and 80s. And then we started discovering, a lot of the modern or more modern music that we both loved. We've both got a big love for well-produced pop music. I mean, it's sadly disregarded as just gack, but there's some amazing pop music out there, and dance music and stuff which is just so multi-timbral, and there's so much going on. So we discovered this love together, and then after a while he said, "Do you fancy having a jam with some old bandmates of mine?" So this was the band Indica, which were sort of, I don't know if you can call it math metal or what it is. And there's too many. I always call things rock, even though I grew up on thrash metal and I love my thrash, but these days I just call things rock. It's just rock, and it has different flavors. So there was Jim and Daz, and so we got in a room, and there was no pretense. It was just, we were all looking to get out some creativity. And then, crikey, lo and behold, stuff started coming out. So I think, like, we had a meeting, and then Daz, the drummer, sent me like a drum loop that I'd go around in his head. So I came with a riff for it, and I can't remember the name. It's on something. It's off Zigurat, the EP. Honestly, I can't remember names. And it grew from there, and we weren't really expecting anything of it. We managed to sort of jump onto a local gig with a really great promoter called Cowbell Promotions, and it's the wonderful Nick Flagg, who actually appears on Terra Solis. He's the flight attendant talking at the beginning of one of the songs, wonderful West Country drawl. Anywho, it's grown, and the journey has been cohesive. I mean, we've had times, we're only human. Terra Solis itself, we were all, well, a couple of us were going through some stuff, mainly me, and the band nearly split up at one point because we lost our ability to communicate. We let the ego take over too much, and the id wasn't there, so we weren't able to be functional or communicative. But it was too good to throw away, and some humble pie was ate, mainly by me. And we learned to communicate again, and we're good friends, good, open, honest friends. And I hope that's reflected in the music.
Amazing, Mark. And would you like to share some of the great moments that you had over the years?
Oh, crikey. Well, I mean, great moments. I mean, obviously, every single gig has been a great moment, which is really good. You know, whether we're playing to, I don't know, 25 people or 3,000 people at the Great HRH. So that's another festival loop we get on now and again. The Hard Rock Hell lot, you know, Stoner versus Doom and the Psych thing. They did offer us some stuff this year, but sadly schedules have not allowed. That's always been a highlight. Obviously, getting together every other week has been great because, you know, it's a great stress reliever, being able to play music and just chill out. Funny moments. I think it might have been, I can't remember if it was Manchester or whether it was Sheffield, which we love playing up north. It's always amazing gigs. I got, after the show, got so battered in the hotel lobby, because we're too old to be staying on people's beds or sleeping in vans, sofas, sleeping in vans, that I was the guys was caught me trying to put my credit card into the snack machine in the lobby and had to guide me back up to the room and all that sort of stuff. And then just the people that we've met, I think that's the most overwhelming thing, is that we've got a really loyal fan base. And, you know, admittedly, it's mainly Dan who, mostly Dan who communicates back with them, whether it's via Bandcamp or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram and stuff. You know, people are genuinely interested in us and our music, and, you know, that's the most precious moment, is connecting with these people. And when you meet them at a gig, they're like, hi, you know, and they say, oh, I don't know, whatever their handle is on Bandcamp. I'm like, all right, no way, oh, thanks for the compliment. And, like, you know, they're spending their hard-earned cash on our stuff, and they're traveling, you know, hundreds of miles. In fact, one person who's been a phenomenal support to the band, Katie, and her husband as well. I think they're back in the UK now, but she was seconded across to Dubai or somewhere like that. Yeah, and she actually, I don't think it was fully for us. I think it was, she was going to see family, but she timed her annual leave to come and see us play in Manchester.
Amazing.
Which is insane. You know, thousands of miles just to come see us. Ridiculous. But we love her support, and, you know, it means a lot.
Wonderful, Mark. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And Mark, finally, what would be the message that you want to give to the fans around the world?
I think, you know, I suppose on just a basic level, if everyone can just be a bit more kind to each other, it's great. Empathy goes a long way. I think we've all learned that over this past couple of years, with all the horrors that are happening in the world right now. I think being able to listen is a gift, and it's, you know, I think we've all got wrapped up in our own narrative a lot through social media and various other sort of stresses and strains, which, you know, we all go through. So being a bit kinder and just listening to people a bit is the way forward. And yeah, just hope that, you know, on a vain level, that people enjoy this album, see it for what it is, see where we come from, and, you know, hopefully make enough noise about us to get onto these wonderful festivals such as HRH, Bloodstock, Desert Fest, all that sort of stuff. We'd love to be there. We're really easy to work with, very clean. I wash at least once a week, and I'm very polite.
Amazing, Mark, amazing. And Mark, I want to thank you so much for giving me today this great opportunity to have this great interview with you. A real pleasure to talk about the music and the band. And we're all looking forward for the release of the Sceptred Whale on June 3rd. And great music again from you. Amazing album. I believe the whole world is going to fall in love with you guys again. Great work. And thanks again, Mark. You have a good day ahead.
Cheers, my friend. Thanks ever so much for taking time to talk to us. Cheerio, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Whoop, can he turn it off? Bye.
Bye.